The courtroom fell into a silence so heavy it seemed to stop time itself. A tired black single father stood alone before the bench, wearing an old military field jacket that looked as though it had survived decades of storms. Before he could even explain why he still wore it, the judge's voice thundered across the room, ordering him to remove it immediately. The spectators exchanged knowing looks, assuming the worn-out jacket was nothing more than an attempt to gain sympathy. The father slowly reached for the zipper, his eyes fixed on the floor, carrying the quiet dignity of a man who had endured more pain than most people could imagine. Then the courtroom doors swung open. A four-star admiral entered with calm confidence, walked directly toward the father, stopped only inches away, stood at attention, and raised a perfect military salute. Every whisper vanished. Every face turned pale. In one unforgettable moment, the man everyone had judged became the man no one could stop respecting. Before this incredible story continues, if you believe kindness matters, second chances can change lives, and no one should ever be judged by appearances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that remind us what true character really looks like. Marcus Hill had never imagined that one ordinary jacket would become the center of so much attention. Years earlier, it had been part of his Navy uniform during countless rescue missions across dangerous seas. Time had faded its color, worn down its sleeves, and left tiny stitches where his late wife had lovingly repaired small tears. After she passed away from cancer, the jacket became much more than clothing. It carried memories of sacrifice, love, and promises that refused to disappear. Every time Marcus wore it, he remembered the woman who believed he could overcome anything and the little boy they had promised to raise together. Life after losing his wife became a constant battle. Marcus suddenly found himself raising 7-year-old Noah alone while trying to survive on temporary jobs that barely covered rent. He cleaned office buildings before sunrise, unloaded trucks through the afternoon, and delivered groceries late into the evening. Most nights he slept only a few hours before starting over again. Despite the exhaustion, he never let Noah leave for school without breakfast or return home to an empty apartment. Marcus believed that children remembered love far longer than they remembered money. The neighborhood respected Marcus because they saw what happened behind closed doors. Elderly neighbors found their sidewalks shoveled before they woke up. Single mothers discovered groceries left anonymously outside their doors during difficult weeks. Children learned to ride bicycles because Marcus spent weekends running beside them until they found the confidence to balance alone. Nobody knew how a man struggling to survive still found time to help everyone else. Marcus never talked about kindness because he believed kindness only mattered when nobody expected recognition. His greatest pride remained Noah. The little boy had inherited his mother's gentle heart and his father's determination. Although classmates sometimes teased him about wearing second-hand clothes, Noah never complained. He often told his father that people who laughed at others usually carried sadness they didn't know how to express. Hearing those words convinced Marcus that despite every hardship, he had kept the promise he made beside his wife's hospital bed. Everything changed when the construction company where Marcus worked refused to pay several months of wages after an accident shut down the project. The owner claimed paperwork had been lost and insisted Marcus had voluntarily resigned. Without those earnings, unpaid bills multiplied quickly. Rent notices appeared on the apartment door. Utility companies threatened disconnection. Marcus tried every legal channel available, but expensive attorneys represented the company while he could barely afford bus fare to the courthouse. On the morning of the hearing, Marcus carefully brushed dust from his old military jacket before leaving home. It was the warmest coat he owned and the only respectable outerwear left in his closet. Noah hugged him tightly before school and whispered that no matter what happened, he already knew his father was the bravest man in the world. Those simple words stayed with Marcus during every step toward the courthouse. Inside, appearances quickly shaped opinions. The company's lawyers arrived carrying polished briefcases and wearing expensive suits. Marcus stood alone holding a worn folder filled with handwritten notes, pay stubs, and faded employment records. Some people quietly assumed the outcome before the hearing even began. To them, Marcus looked like another struggling man hoping for sympathy rather than justice. When the judge noticed the military jacket, he immediately ordered Marcus to remove it, believing courtroom decorum demanded proper business attire. Marcus did not argue. Years of military discipline had taught him to respect authority even during moments of embarrassment. He slowly reached toward the zipper, prepared to obey without complaint. Before he could remove the jacket, the courtroom doors opened. The man who entered carried decades of honorable service on his shoulders. Admiral William Carter, one of the Navy's most respected leaders, had unexpectedly arrived after learning Marcus's name while visiting the courthouse for an unrelated veterans event. The instant he recognized Marcus, his expression changed from curiosity to profound respect. Without hesitation, the Admiral crossed the room, stood directly before Marcus, and rendered a flawless salute. No one understood what they were witnessing. The Admiral then explained that 23 years earlier, during a devastating hurricane relief mission, a young petty officer Marcus Hill had repeatedly entered collapsing floodwaters to rescue trapped families. During one desperate operation, an overloaded rescue boat overturned. The current swept several sailors toward submerged debris, including then-Commander William Carter. Marcus ignored direct danger to himself, swam through powerful currents, and pulled the injured commander to safety before returning again and again for stranded civilians. When the mission ended, dozens of lives had been saved because one sailor refused to abandon anyone. The Admiral admitted something almost no one had ever heard. His own distinguished career had continued only because Marcus had chosen courage over personal safety that day. Without Marcus, he never would have lived long enough to become an admiral. Yet Marcus had quietly returned to duty afterward, refusing interviews, awards, or public attention. He simply believed he had done what any honorable sailor should have done. The courtroom listened in stunned silence. The judge slowly realized that the jacket was not a costume or an attempt to influence the case. It represented years of sacrifice, discipline, and service. More importantly, it belonged to a man whose character had been proven long before he entered that courtroom. As the hearing continued, Marcus calmly presented every document he had collected despite overwhelming financial hardship. Former co-workers unexpectedly appeared after hearing about the case and testified that Marcus had never abandoned his job. Payroll records that the company claimed were missing suddenly surfaced after investigators requested additional documentation. Piece by piece, the company's false story collapsed under the weight of truth. The judge ruled entirely in Marcus's favor. The construction company was ordered to pay every dollar owed, along with additional compensation for wrongful conduct. For Marcus, the financial victory meant more than recovering lost income. It meant keeping his apartment, protecting Noah's future, and proving that honesty could still overcome power. News of the courtroom salute spread across the city within hours. Local newspapers focused on the dramatic moment, but people who truly listened discovered that the greatest story was not about medals or military rank. It was about a father who never stopped choosing integrity when life gave him every reason to become bitter. In the months that followed, Marcus used part of his settlement to create a small community program for struggling veterans and single parents searching for employment. He helped write resumes, organized clothing drives, and connected families with local businesses willing to offer second chances. He often reminded volunteers that dignity was something every human being deserved before they earned anything else. Noah watched his father transform personal hardship into hope for countless strangers. As the years passed, he carried those lessons into adulthood, becoming a lawyer dedicated to defending workers who could not afford expensive legal representation. Every major decision he made reflected the example set by the man who had taught him that real strength never needed applause. The old military jacket remained hanging by the front door of their modest home. Its fabric continued to fade, and the stitching became even more worn with time, but neither Marcus nor Noah ever considered replacing it. It represented perseverance through grief, courage during impossible moments, and quiet service that expected nothing in return. Visitors often asked why such an old jacket occupied the place of honor in the house. Marcus simply smiled, knowing that the value of some things could never be measured by appearance. The judge never forgot that day either. Long afterward, he spoke publicly about the importance of looking beyond first impressions and remembering that every person entering a courtroom carried a life story invisible to everyone else. That lesson changed not only his perspective but also the way many others viewed justice, compassion, and respect. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to support the video by liking it, sharing it with someone who believes in hope, leaving your thoughts in the comments, and subscribing for more inspiring stories that remind us kindness is never wasted. Special request: before this story ends, please comment with the words, "Character matters," if you believe a person's actions will always speak louder than their appearance. Marcus walked into that courtroom expecting another difficult day, another judgment, and another uphill battle. He walked out carrying something far greater than a legal victory. He carried proof that genuine honor can never be hidden beneath worn clothes, financial hardship, or unfair assumptions. Respect earned through sacrifice remains visible to those who understand its true meaning, and sometimes all it takes is one unexpected salute to remind the entire world that heroes rarely look the way we expect.